The foundations of reading instruction can seem complicated, but when broken down, it's easy to see how everything ties together to produce effective and developed readers. Let's take a look at what that looks like. To start off, let's take a look at the Big Five. These 5 components are what make up balanced literacy. The first is phonological awareness. Phonological awareness can be thought of as an umbrella that includes a variety of skills that require the analysis of sounds, including identification and manipulation in spoken language. Phonemic awareness is the understanding that spoken words are made up of individual phonemes or sounds. A phoneme is the simplest form of spoken words. It's basically a sound. For example, if student Sally has phonemic awareness, she understands that her name, Sally, makes different sounds. She doesn't know the spelling yet, but that's okay. It's important to note that everything we've talked about so far only has to do with spoken language. Letters and written language hasn't been introduced yet, but we're getting there. Phonics is the study of phonemes and the letter symbols used to represent specific speech sounds in writing and reading. Phonics doesn't mean you know the names and sounds of the alphabet, it's just the basic understanding that the sounds we hear in words are represented by squiggly shapes that are letters. An example of this would be if a family is driving on the road and the toddler in the back sees a Chick-fil-A sign. The young child doesn't know what makes up the name Chick-fil-A, but they understand that the letters form a word that means something. Even though phonics can fall under the umbrella of phonological awareness, it's actually the second component of the Big Five. The third is fluency, which is the ability to read quickly, accurately, expressively, and with comprehension. A common phrase used when teaching fluency is, when you read, try to sound like someone is talking. Meaning, we don't want robotic readers. We want readers who speak as if they're telling a story without a book in front of them. There are 6 dimensions of fluency, which are pausing, phrasing, stress, intonation, rate, and integration. The fourth component of the Big Five is vocabulary. There are 4 different types of vocabulary: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. They all consist of what they sound like, so they're not too difficult to figure out. And the 5th and final component of the Big Five is text comprehension. Comprehension is the ability to read with understanding. Students who lack comprehension can read the book well phonetically, but have no substantial idea of the meaning, plot, main idea, etc. of the book. For instance, my case study student this year often had to look back in the book to find the answers to questions I would ask her. She struggled with comprehension, but we worked on that. When teaching for comprehension, it's important to be aware of the factors that affect it, and this is how you teach it. The first of the reader factors is background knowledge. Activating background knowledge, or schema, is important for comprehension because it's connecting and relating the text to what the reader knows. If I see a dog on the cover of a book and I have a dog at home, I'm able to connect with the book just from the cover because of my experiences with dogs. Another reader factor is motivation and encouragement. That simply means that if the book is boring, too easy, or too hard, or if the student doesn't care to read about the book, then that's going to affect comprehension because the reader is less likely to be engaged. Other reader factors include fluency, vocabulary, and text comprehension strategies. We'll get to that part later though. The other kind of factor is from the text. This includes genres, text structures, and text or access features. Genre is the kind of book it is: fiction, which would be Cinderella, nonfiction, The Diary of Anne Frank, and poetry, which comes from the book Gone Fishing. Text structures refer to how the text is organized, such as descriptive, cause and effect, compare and contrast, etc. An example of a descriptive book would be Who is the Beast?, in which the book talks about what the beast looks like. An example of a cause and effect story would be If You Give a Pig a Pancake, because it's talking about if you do this, then this happens. An example of a compare and contrast book is the book Same, but Different. Text or access features refer to the headings, subheadings, diagrams, dialogue, etc. Now let's take a look at the comprehension strategies I mentioned a moment ago. There is a system of strategic actions we can take to help teach comprehension to young readers. It's important that they are able to comprehend within, about, and beyond the text. Thinking within the text takes place during the reading. Thinking about and beyond the text takes place after the reading. These strategies can be used in the classroom by teaching, prompting, and reinforcing often. Before we conclude, it's important that we take a closer look at balanced literacy. We've already established that balanced literacy is composed of the Big Five, but how do we develop those things? If you didn't think this was messy before, get ready because you'll find that everything circles back and leads to one another. There are 4 main ways to teach balanced literacy. Interactive read-alouds are when the teacher reads aloud to the class in a way that engages students. When planning an interactive read aloud lesson, it's important to activate background knowledge, make predictions, teach new vocabulary, and question for comprehension. Independent reading consists of reading on their own independently. This can be done silently, reading to themselves, as well as listening to audio tracks while reading along. Shared reading is an interactive reading experience that occurs when students join in or share the reading of a book or other text while guided and supported by the teacher. This is a time when the teacher can explicitly teach for fluency. The fourth and final way to teach balanced literacy is by doing guided reading. Guided reading is a small group reading instruction when students of the same reading level all read the same text together with a teacher present. Students read silently or quietly to themselves while the teacher listens to each of them read one by one. The teacher takes notes while students read. Discussion takes place before, after, and sometimes during the text to help students build comprehension. Guided reading is the best way to teach thinking within, about, and beyond the text because of the opportunities to prompt individual thinking. Now that this is officially a mess, maybe I should simplify it a little bit and make it less chaotic. Through this organizer, we've established the general idea of teaching and supporting young students in their reading development. Even though each of these ideas is incredibly important, together they all work together to effectively teach the foundations of reading.